the IP address of your router, and typically you can find this by flipping the router upside down or looking in the manual. But most of the time, you'll find out that the IP address is something generic like 192.168.0.1 or 192.168.1.1. Depending on the brand, you'll find your IP address. So go ahead and put it in, and if everything's up and running, it should take you to your login screen of your router. As you can see, the admin is the login, the password. If this is the first time you've set it up or turned it on or even accessed it, you may not have a password yet. The password may be admin. Password could be administrator. Whatever the case may be, you can find it in the manual. You can try a few out. You can look it up. But for mine, I already configured it, so I'm going to put in my password, and I'm going to go ahead and click on login. And what it does is it takes us to the status tab, and what the status tab does is kind of gives us an update on what's going on, what's configured currently. On mine, since it's already configured, you'll see a lot of this. But when you first set yours up, you may not have all this stuff. It tells you, if your wireless is on, what your wireless network name is, what kind of encryption you're using, or security encryption you're using, who's connected to it. That's what the status tab will do for you. And you'll have something similar probably to the, say you're not using D-Link software or a router, say you're using Linksys or Cisco or Belkin or anything like that. They have their own software, but it'll be something similar to this. What we want to do when you first log in is find the spot that lets you change your admin password or set an admin password if it does not exist. It's simple as just putting in your password. Mine is already in, so I don't really have to worry about it. But if you don't have anything here yet, you want to go ahead and put in or change it from admin to something else, this is where you would do it. And you definitely want to do this. Anyone who knows routers or has ever messed with them knows that you can, if someone doesn't have theirs configured, you can go in and lock the people that own it out, or configure it for your own use, or set your own passwords, or allow you, if you're the neighbor, whatever. You can do a lot of configuration stuff. So you want to make sure you lock down the router by changing the admin password. Once you change the admin password, you're going to want to hit Save Settings. As soon as you hit Save Settings, you're going to be prompted to restart your router. The router will take about 2 minutes to restart and come back up. And once it's up again, you'll be able to type in the 192.168.0.1 IP address to get back into the router to manage it. You will have to log in, of course, with admin and your admin password. Once you've done that, you'll be able to come back in and go to the Setup tab. Whatever it is for yours may be different, but this is where you're going to set up the wireless connection. And you can do it one of two ways. You can use the wizard, which I definitely recommend using. It takes you through. It'll ask you some questions that you may know the answers to. You may not know the answers to. Whatever the case may be, the wizard will help you set it up and get going. What I want to do is show you the manual way of managing this and monitoring it. So we're going to go the long manual way here, just as fast though, all in one place. When you first get to this, you'll probably come to a screen that looks like this, where the wireless is not enabled yet. If you never want to enable wireless, if you want to keep it off, if you're just going to use the wired connections throughout the home or throughout wherever you're using it, you can leave wireless off and just turn it on when you need it. Or you can turn wireless on and have it readily available because you may need it right now. So to check the box, turns the wireless on. Right here, your wireless network name. This is where you're going to go ahead and put in whatever you want to call it. I have mine called iThomas, but you can change it at any time, and you can name it whatever you want. I can name it Thomas's Network. I can name it whatever I want. It's free. Family. Whatever. I'm going to keep it iThomas just because that's what I already had it as. Based on the hardware that you have in your home, you may decide to change this setting from G, 802.11g based on your wireless card. If you have 802.11g, 802.11b, which is somewhat old, and N, which is newer. If you have a little bit of everything in your home, you may want to use mixed, or you probably should use mixed. This way, everything that you want to use wireless can use wireless. If you want to exclude anything, this is another way you can do it, is by leaving it out. So if you have a wireless card somewhere in a machine that is only a B, and if you don't have B turned on, it will not broadcast for B, and B will not be able to connect. So you can look at it as a security measure to keep Bs out. Or say you don't have any N's, you don't have the latest and greatest, you just have maybe a G, a 54G, or an 802.11G card, whatever it is, and you don't want anyone else that's using N or B to get in. This could be another way to restrict access to that. So unfortunately for me, I have a little bit of everything, and I want everything that I have here to be able to connect wirelessly. So I'm going to use this mix mode. If you want to keep your wireless name from not showing up so that your neighbors can't see it or anybody that's walking around, war walking or war driving, which is basically walking around or driving around looking for open wireless internet connections. If you don't want this name to show up, you can hide it by going to invisible. What this does is it doesn't broadcast it, so whenever you set up a machine, you'd have to go into the wireless settings on the card and type in the network name, type in the passphrase, which we'll get to in a minute. When it's visible, it'll find it, show a little lock saying that it's secure, and they just have to put in the passphrase. So based on the security level that you want to take, you can make your decision based on that. Now to where the real security implementation takes place. This one little choice here will determine how far your security level will go. Obviously, if you select none, there is no wireless connections. There is no wireless security. You are broadcasting your wireless network out, and anybody can connect to it with no password, no restrictions. So this is obviously the way you do not want to go. But if you wanted to do it this way for some reason, if you were running a business or you had a reason to have a hotspot that you wanted anybody and everyone to connect to, this is the way you would do it. If you wanted to take it one step up, you can move to WEP, which is a wired equivalent protocol. And what this is an older version of security that has now been deemed outdated. It is hackable. It is easy to break through with enough time and with the right tools and just a little bit of information about your network. So the downside, yes, it is not as secure, but you may have machines, devices in your home that still require WEP. So if you had to go with WEP, at least it is a secured method. And based on whether or not you needed it, you can leave it up. The next one you'd want to take it up to is WPA Personal. We won't talk about WPA Enterprise. It's probably for business or more. Unless you're configuring it for a business, you wouldn't probably need this. So we're going to stick with WPA Personal, and this is what we're going to go with. This is the highest level that my router has that I want to use. So this is what I'm going to show you. WPA, there's two methods, or there's two security modes that this will work with based on your hardware. Once again, if you have devices that are only WPA, then you obviously would only want to set this to WPA. What that would do is restrict anybody who is WPA2 or has a newer laptop or a newer device from using WPA2. Most of them are backwards compatible, but this would force it to use WPA only. I have both, so I need to use automatic so I can get both. The pre-shared key is the passphrase that whenever you do find a wireless network to connect to, this is what it wants to know. This is basically the password to get onto the network if you want to look at it that way. So say you are in my area and you do find my network. If you knew my pre-shared key, or if you knew the passphrase, this would be would be what you put in, and this would be what I would give you, obviously, if I wanted you to be on my network. So once you set everything the way you want to, you hit Save Settings. Once again, your router will reboot, take 1 or 2 minutes to come back up, and when it comes back up, you can come back in. You'll log in, obviously, admin, your password that you just changed it to. You'll come back in and just make sure all your settings are the way you wanted them. And then what you'll do is you'll test your connections. You want to test all the machines you can and make sure that everything is in and everything can get to the internet if that's what you're sharing, or at least access all the network shares that you may have. Whatever your settings are or whatever your intentions are with your network, wireless network, you want to make sure they're all working. And this would be one way you to find out if, hey, you don't need B, or you do need N, or you do need G turned on, or you need to take it down a level to a WEP or none, just to get something on. It depends on what you're working with. So